Welcome back to Cheche. We're discussing police conduct, the brutality we've seen recently, and what it bodes for the country. Our guests are Mashari Njeru, the chairman of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, and Peter Kiyama, the executive director of the Independent Medical Legal Unit, IMLU. And during the break, you were, bringing up the, point about the public and how they police the police. Well, the public has been writing in, and so this is what they're saying. The contentious brutality is done by junior elements that seem to be carrying out orders of their seniors. My question goes to the IPOA chairman. What happened to the Capedo police officer killers, inciters, planners to date? We haven't seen anybody brought to book yet since 2014, as if nobody killed, planned and incited and led to those killings. Mr. Njeru, I'm a police officer who has been on the same grade for over 30 years. Can you tell me which other career one can work in the same group for that time, and then you demand professionalism? That's a big joke. And there are several others. George in Soy, I'd like to comment on the matter of police curriculum. Why did they have to choose Sweden and the UK to help in the curriculum development, while these countries have very different working environments compared to Kenya? Wouldn't it have been better, say, to get experts from South Africa, whose police deal with a similar public to that of Kenya? So, as you can, I suppose these are the police officers coming out to defend themselves, because, as you say, there is a disconnect between the National Police Service and the public that they're supposed to protect.
The issues they've raised are, are valid. There's no doubt about it. But you see, again, it comes back to the National Police Service itself. Why do I say this? Like, for instance, the issue of a Capedo where police officers are killed. The police themselves are under responsibility to investigate and ensure that action is taken. It is still their baby. That's why I use the example of UK, where there were rioters, where there were people who were engaging in criminal conduct, and police made sure that to rein in on impunity, action is indeed taken. And for instance, when people misconduct themselves and they know they can get away with it, then they'll keep repeating it. It is upon the police to ensure they investigate and action is indeed taken so that we can deal with that. Now, coming to the issue that he raised about a training curriculum, we also checked on what was happening in South Africa. I just mentioned that. We also did that with the Botswana. And again, when it comes to some of these good experience from that jurisdictions, let us not delude ourselves and say that our working environment, our circumstances are different from other jurisdictions. The world has become a global village. The way the English, the way the Americans, the way the Swedes will expect better policing, also Kenyans deserve good policing. There's this excuse or this narrative that keeps being thrown around by the police that the Kenyan public is different from other, public from other jurisdictions. That's hogwash.
And I think it's about the conditions of the police officer in Kenya. Take a police officer in Kenya and a police officer in the UK or even South Africa. I don't think the conditions are the same at all.
As a matter of fact, if you look at the conditions of the members of the police service in South Africa, I must say that to a large extent it's not dissimilar. You can't see that it's any different. It is all about how we manage our resources. The way we manage our resources is not efficient, it's not prudent. In fact, even with the budget that the police are able to get right now, if it's properly utilized, it can make there can be a big shift in how we do our things. There are a lot of management issues that if you have a strategic mind that is able to focus and ensure that you are doing things professionally,
when you
can
say
make progress.
Improperly managed, are you saying corruption?
No, I don't mean, of course that is one of the problems, not just with the National Police Service. It's a common problem in our country. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to deployment of resources, I do not think that the police are able to prioritize their matters correctly, because where the rubber meets the road is the working of the constables. That's where the resources need to be deployed at the station level.
Let us get from him, because he has done research. They have done research, and when I go home, the police where I come from, when I was a kid, the houses the police used to have are still the same, and there are these cases of policemen families sharing houses. We thought that will going to improve with the constitution.
Before it comes to it, we have actually done more real-time research ourselves. We have a unit that deals with inspections and monitoring. Now, we have inspectors. In fact, I can tell you for a fact that as at last month, we have done inspections of 432 police stations.
Yeah.
And that inspection includes not only the police premises, the station itself, but also where they live.
Yeah.
So we have real-time information because we have officers whose work is only to do that. And where I'm talking about the resources. Now, let's look at our focus, like the living conditions. We have a very comprehensive housing report that we released that nobody seems to want to follow, where we've said that it is no longer tenable to say that you're going to build police houses for the members of the National Police Service. That is policing of 18th century. In fact, if you look at every other jurisdiction, they stopped building police houses. Why? Because it has been found that for you to enhance community policing, you have to let police live with other communities. Give them adequate house allowances so that they can live with the people. You know, they can rent houses like every other Kenyan. They can take mortgages and buy houses like everybody. Just give them adequate police house allowances that can help them. Because right now you find a police officer being given house allowance of 1,500, another 3,000. Where do you get a house for that kind of a money? Now they keep saying that we want to build police houses. If you look at the turnaround time of building police houses, the cost of land, the disputes with the contractors, you know, the shenanigans that are involved in all these projects and all that, it doesn't help the police. So that's why we are saying we are using the same strategy that has failed, and we are expecting different results, when it could be very easy for us just to use prudent management, deploy resources correctly, and be able to add value to a police member of the National Police Service, and be able to help policing.
Mr. Kiama, comment on this. The political leadership has a heavy bearing on the character of police. Where the government abandons constitutionalism, the police shouldn't be expected to uphold it. Again, it's not enough to equip a force. Character molding and cultivation is imperative, and that comes from Mwashuma at the coast.
Yeah, of course. I would also like to mention that police welfare, the welfare of that professional called a police officer, and I underline professional, because I think we've not been treating our officers as professionals in their own right,
even though we expect them.
And that is where we begin, even before we begin holding them to account. Of course, we cannot excuse any misbehavior, but we have to treat them as professionals in their own right. And that's why we insisted, you know, around 2010, let us have 15 months and police officers graduate with a diploma and they get a certificate. You know, so that then they can, the self-esteem of police officers and also their mobility within their career can be recognized through, because in this country I think we insist a lot on papers. And if every other profession is getting papers, even the police deserve papers because they have gone to college. Now, when it comes to political, politics in the police service, one of the critical things that was done under the Constitution is try to protect the police from undue political influence, because the police had been made an instrument, what you call instrumentalization of the police, an instrument of the political class, that they were serving the interests of those in power. And I think Kenyans spoke very clearly in 2010, saying, no, we want a police service that is about public safety and security, not about capturing power and maintaining power of the few in society. Now, what we have seen since 2013 is a very worrying trend, where the regime in power, the Jubilee government, has actually gradually you know, clawed back into that space through amendments of the National Police Service Act, the National Police Service Commission Act, and even attempting to reduce the powers of IPOA, you know, interfering and trying to amend the Independent Policing Authority Act, which through the support of the Parliamentary Committee did not succeed. So what they've done is to try to you know, bring back the Inspector General under the direct control of the President through the appointment process and even through the removal process, including the Deputy Inspector Generals, removing some of the powers of the National Police Service Commission. So yes, there has been very clear and overt attempts, and some very successful attempts by the current government to bring back the police under political control. You have seen the utterances of the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, issuing directives to the police, which under the National Police Service Act is unacceptable. The Inspector General of Police under the law has been given independent command of the police. It is the Inspector General to issue orders to his people and directives to his officers, not the Cabinet Secretary coming to the public and issuing threats and directing the police.
But isn't that because he doesn't see the necessity of having bodies like IPOA and the National Police Service Commission? Yeah. And which means that everything we're talking about here, policing the police service, is probably in the ears of the executive moot.
You see, the government in power today, or even the opposition, or anybody else in this society now, has no choice but to implement the provisions of the Constitution and the law. That's what we are insisting. And therefore, that's why sometimes, we are accused by the police and some in government of being overcritical of the police. But we're just saying, the law says this. Just stick to the law, the rule of law. Yeah. You cannot vacate. Sorry, if you make attempts to vacate from the rule of law, the result is anarchy. And that's why we are really vigilant on ensuring that the rule of law prevails in all circumstances, whether it is public gatherings, whether it is detaining of suspects, the whole criminal justice process. The rule of law is our only protector.
David?
Well, I think the public has also to get used to obeying the law. I mean, Kema, you're saying people want to enforce the Constitution. That Constitution does not say, I mean, the things that people are expecting of government. For example, when things go wrong, government is taking responsibility. Yet, government is not expected to, again, interfere with when they issue instructions to police. That is interference. When police misbehave or abuse the law, it is not the police who are blamed, it is government. Do you understand the dilemma here? People expect certain things from government and blame the government for certain things. When government not interferes but intervenes by asking the police or directing the police to do certain things, again, that is not for following the law. How do you draw the line here?
I think the line is...
Is it a matter of public... Okay, is it a matter of civic education or what? Because when Kaiseri says we have, ordered the police to crack down on certain things, he is breaking the law because there's no provision in law that supports such a directive. But again, when things go wrong, it is the same Ministry of Interior and Government that is blamed when police have not acted.
Can I talk about the public and then
where do we intervene?
Then I can talk about the government. I'll say this, with no apologies, that all of us in this country are beholden to the Constitution. If, for example, you want to hold a public demonstration, there are clear rules that you're supposed to abide to. So if and one of the key principles in terms of expressing yourself or holding gatherings or demonstrations is that you have to respect the rights of others, and you have to do so in a non-violent manner. So anybody who goes out to exercise their rights in a violent manner is subject to the law. And we, as the independent medical legal unit, cannot under any circumstances protect anybody or defend anybody who is involved in violence, because that is a principle that we have agreed in the Constitution, that we should exercise our rights in a manner that respects the rights of others. So that's clear. So when the police respond to a situation where people are demonstrating or exercising their rights in a violent manner, they are within their right as police officers to respond. However, they have to respond within the confines of the law. And the law is clear. It has given wide discretion to police officers. Okay. But that discretion also comes with responsibility. And that's where accountability comes in.
Let me say this. That nowhere in the world can you remove the government from oversighting the police. It can never happen. In fact, you find in all jurisdictions the Ministry of Interior will be at the forefront in ensuring that the police do certain things. It's normal, whether in UK, whether in Belgium, whether in France. In fact, you will see a lot of times whenever there is a need for police action on anything, it is the ministry that comes, because remember that the executive has been elected by the people of Kenya. at any given time. And people look to the government. In fact, a lot of times when they see things going wrong, they don't look at the police, they look at the government. You're right.
But doesn't that negate you, IPOA, as a statutory body? Because the whole idea was for civilian oversight of the National Police Service.
No, for us is to hold the police to account. In fact, what we are supposed to do is that the police, because we don't interfere with the police operations. We are not police service. We don't pretend to be, and we don't even want to be members of National Police Service. But it is when whatever they do operationally, if they do it wrong, that's when we kick in, because you are supposed not to ensure appropriate action is taken. So we come after the event a lot of times, not before. But it is the responsibility of the government to make sure that things are done right. But we must distinguish that from operational independence, because the police, when it comes to the actual operation, they're supposed to be independent operationally. And now, so the police should not look over their shoulders to expect directives from the ministry or anybody else in terms of the operational mandate, because constitutionally, the Inspector General is the overall commander operationally of the National Police Service. So the issue of professionalism, it is the police themselves who are supposed to be professional in whatever they do. And that they cannot blame the government, they cannot blame the
So when Kaiseri says we are not going to allow demonstrations, is it within the law?
Now, you see,
and therefore the police have to enforce that government decision. Where is it now? How does it come?
One thing is that the minister has no legal powers, either under the constitution or otherwise, to say that there cannot be demonstrations. Now, those are, the police must also remember, under the National Police Service Act, it is very clear that you cannot obey unlawful orders. In fact, even within the National Police Service itself, if a commander issues an unlawful order to his junior, that's not a defense, because it's very clear that it will not be an offense or a disciplinary offense for the member of the National Police Service to disobey an unlawful order. So at the end of the day, they're expected to always behave professionally and within the confines of the law. And what they're supposed to do is to, and when it comes to members of the public, we do not dispute at all that the members of the public, a significant number of them have not helped the situation. That there's no dispute. That some of them have behaved very badly, which has led now to the situations we are in. But I keep repeating and saying, this is not unique to Kenya, even in other jurisdictions, because people have this narrative where they say that members of the public in Kenya don't obey the law. It's not true, because if you just need to Google and get to the internet, and you'll see that also members of the public in UK, in Sweden, which are very established jurisdictions, even America, they behave the same. It is the responsiveness of the police that is different.
Do you only are you only interested in wrong police action, or also inaction? For example,
sins of commission and omission.
Because there have been accusations that the police are applying the law or acting selectively. They will obstruct certain people, stop certain actions, and they'll allow others and look the other side. Guys walked in here from Kayole the other day all the way up to Upper Hill in response to, what had been, a demonstration had happened against IBC. And people said there were no police. And they walked through town and went all the way up and caused quite a bit of action and went back. Are you concerned? And then there have been people saying, look, in this case, these people are not dispersed. These ones were dispersed. Are you concerned with actions of that kind?
We are very concerned. Actually, I'll tell you that for us as IPOA, we engage the police every single day on some of these things, bringing to them the folly of some of the things that they'll do that has great impact. You see,
what's the outcome of those engagements?
Well, it's not that nothing is happening. A lot of times there are also very good things that are happening, and also reaction that we may not be able to say, in the TV. But let me say this before I lose my trail of thoughts. That you see, when you look at CNN, you see adverts of Magical Kenya. And what we keep telling the police that it is pointless for the government to spend millions of shillings talking about Magical Kenya, which is a good thing because we are trying to enhance investments in our country and tourism, etc., etc. Then a few minutes later, you are seeing a clip of a police officer who is beating up people and doing all the wrong things.
Magical.
Now, the behavior of the police, they must realize, has greater economic ramifications in Kenya. Any investor who wants to come to this country first and foremost, they'll try to look at how does the criminal justice system work. And when people think about the criminal justice system, the first people they talk about is the police themselves. If they see the conduct of the police service and they see like they are brutal, there are people who are not able to maintain law and order, etc., etc., people will say that I don't want to invest in a country like that. So we keep telling them that they should not look at it with a short-term view, where they think that whatever they are doing does not have much implication other than the quarrel between themselves and the public. It has huge economic
why blame the police? If I was an investor today and I want to go and open a supermarket, would I go to Kisumu? Can you blame the police for that? Would I go to Kisumu?
You see, let me show you the connection. Now,
the police never banned the supermarket.
What will usually happen, that is wrong. We do not dispute. In fact, remember, those who banned the supermarket and all that, by now the police officers should have been able to have a very active file and making sure that the people who are responsible, because they have the capacity, are finally taken to court. But if that does not happen, of course you are discouraging the investors. But coming back now to handling the issue of demonstrations, I'll tell you how it's supposed to happen and ideally how it happens. Because for those who have gone to other jurisdictions, there are demonstrations actually every day and a lot of times they are peaceful. The reason why it happens that way, that the police are able to engage with the people who are planning those demonstrations. They sit down with them. They agree on they don't tell them you're not going to have a demonstration. They don't start from the negative. They'll tell them we are going to agree on who is the person who is responsible for managing that demonstration. Among the people themselves, they'll agree on the routes, they'll agree on the time.
But I don't think there is that they don't know. The analysis of Kenya today are going to have a demonstration. I saw them the other day demonstrate. They are going to demonstrate against a certain law that is being passed. I don't expect there will be any fight. It will be peaceful. They will walk around here, maybe with a prison band or some group of musicians, and it will work. That they don't know.
No, what I'm saying, you see, it is different. In fact, what will usually happen in other jurisdictions, good jurisdictions, they'll even have an agreement which will be put in writing, and the organizers sign for it. It is doable. Let us not keep thinking that
let's come back to that point after the break now. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV. What's your experience of the police service? Professional and disciplined, or heavy-handed and brutal? Tell us what you think. Our SMS number is 22422, or tweet us using the hashtag Cheche.